And here he is.
Are you asking me?
No.
I'm the same thing.
Coach Steve Sarkisian. Sark, what is this game all about for you and this program?
Well, I think one, for me, just the day in general, I thought this was a really cool opportunity for us to kind of show the fans some appreciation. We did an autograph signing earlier today with all the guys out on Bevo Boulevard. Turnout was tremendous. Now to look at all the people here, even well before kickoff to watch the spring game, that part's great. For us, clearly, our opponents, we know are going to watch this tape, so pretty scaled down version of what we do, offense, defense, special teams, but I want to see our guys have a chance to go out, compete, play hard, execute, do the things that they shouldn't be thinking about that they can do with confidence and put on a good brand of football.
Before I turn it over to the guys, what's the number one thing you felt like you've accomplished to this point in spring practice?
Well, I think we're just a closer football team. I'll be honest with you, though, like from winter conditioning through spring practice, where we're at as a team, collectively playing as one, about the team first mentality, I think has been such a difference from where we were a year ago. Now, obviously, staff continuity, schematically, development of players, all those things have progressed to make that happen. But where we are just as a football team, the culture, what we're about today, as opposed to a year ago this time, it's not even close.
So, Coach, we spoke about this and we talked about this yesterday. But Roshan, we know he's, Bijan and Xavier Worthy and all these guys get all the pub. But tell us about how important Roshan is to this team.
Roshan Johnson, if you said who is the one leader on the team, I would say it's Roshan Johnson.
Awesome.
He's a pit bull, man. I mean, he holds people accountable. He keeps them in line. But yet, he mows his own lawn. Mm-hmm. Nobody works harder. Nobody's more prepared. Nobody comes out and competes at a higher level regardless of the drill. So he sets a standard for what it's supposed to look like, not only when we're on the grass, but in the classroom, in their personal life. And then he's able to then be that leader, and guys respect him for what he does.
You brought up accountability, and I know you've been pressuring that a lot to the team. What's one of the main messages that you've had? I know last season didn't end the way that you wanted it to, but what's the main message that you've had for this team this offseason going into next year?
Well, I think at the end of the day, right, there's kind of four core components to this. One, you have to be committed to the cause, right? Are you committed to UT football and this football team? Two, are you accountable to the team? Are you doing the necessary things to be accountable to the team that we can count on you? To do that, three, you have to have discipline. And then the fourth component is kind of on and off the field, but you got to have toughness, man. You got to be mentally and physically tough to persevere through the ups and the downs of being a football player at the University of Texas. Sometimes it's on the grass, sometimes it's off the field, but whatever it is, you still got to come back the next day with that kind of commitment, that accountability, and that discipline to do it the right way.
Hey, Coach, I know the plays are going to be generic, like you said, but everybody's being evaluated. I remember Sean Payton used to always tell me that when I walked in the door. What are you looking for out of your players on film?
Execution, about can they really be attentive to the details today, right? And today should be a little easier day to be attentive to the details. What's my split at wide receiver, right? What's my route depth? What's my read as the quarterback? How am I playing this zone coverage on defense, right? Are my keys right? There's not a lot of line game, so can I block my man one-on-one? Can I use the proper technique to defeat that block? Those are all the things I'm looking for.
100%. Everybody wants to always know who's the starting quarterback, and we know there's so much that has to play out in competition that has to ensue. But in the grand scheme of things, what does an opportunity like this do in terms of the process to get to that point where you have a guy?
Well, first, I want to praise both Hudson and Quinn this spring. They both had great springs. I mean, they both played at a high level. They both got better as spring went along in their own respective kind of spots and where they're at in the system. I think ultimately the decision I'm going to have to make is who do I think gives us and our football team the best chance to go win and be successful. And sometimes that's operating the offense and the scheme. Sometimes that's motivating the guy next to you to do his job. Sometimes it's instilling hope, faith, and belief in the defense or the coaching staff that, hey, that's our guy, that's what we're going to go do. So we're still in that phase, but the way they're playing and operating the offense, I've been very pleased with up to this point.
You had Jameson. He decided to come back for another year. How has he progressed from last year to this year?
Well, I think the one thing that he's done, I think he's understanding who he is as a player in our scheme. And I think that's always a challenge when a new staff comes in. We're trying to learn them. They're trying to learn us. They're trying to learn the scheme. But I think now he's got a real understanding of kind of who he is as a player within our scheme, and he's playing to his strengths, right? I think he's probably had 6 or 7 picks this spring ball, and shoot, I think 3 or 4 of them have gone for touchdowns. But there's a comfort level in playing his style of play and knowing when to play the ball, when to do those things, but yet you still have to tackle and do all the other things that add up. So I think Jameson's comfort level, but also ours as a staff with him and the type of player that he is.
Coach, talk about the problems that existed last season, dealing with COVID in the offseason. Obviously, there's been a ton of renovations that have happened in the end zone and in the locker room, but what's been the biggest difference between 2021 spring and 2022 spring?
I touched on it a little earlier, but the reality of it is we're just closer as a football team, from staff to staff, player to player, staff to player, all encompassing of just the team, our organization of who we are. And part of that is, hey, we've got a sign up in that south end zone now that says no excuses, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm making an excuse. But a year ago at this time, I had to reflect back on just kind of the offseason of where we were a year ago with COVID, with the ice storm. Our players are in the visitors' locker room over here, all winter conditioning, spring and summer. We're up in the north end zone in the old compliance offices. Yep. We're meeting on the 7th floor concourse with a drop screen with a bar behind me and card table chairs. And now we have a home. And now we're in a home where we can meet in a team meeting room. We've got a player lounge. I know where our players are. If they're not in class, they're with us. And it's created just a cohesive group that has got a lot of continuity that I think really doesn't want to let each other down.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, I know it's real important for programs, the physical aspect in the weight room, but what do you think about building a team mentally? Can you comment on that?
It's huge. I've done a lot of work in the kind of this area in this field. I think the psyche of a football team is critical. I think it starts with me, because I think ultimately teams take on the mentality and the kind of the mentality of a head football coach. And so, one, what do I exude on a daily basis with consistency? 2, can I identify areas of concern with specific players or specific groups on the team of how I can help them? Because ultimately, the mental toughness aspect of playing this game, we all want it to go perfect and every play to work and every game to go great. But the reality of it is there's going to be bumps in the road. Injuries occur, right? Tough plays occur. Bad luck occurs, right? Losses occur. How we respond to that, that's ultimately what's going to define us as a program, and I think that's a big area where we can take a big step in year 2.
Well, when it comes to mental toughness, Jatavion Sanders entered last season as an all-world can't-miss prospect. He got on the field, but didn't make the impact I'm sure he wanted to make. Right. And you guys drove him and had extremely high expectations for him. He stuck with it. What have you seen in terms of the benefit of that stick-to-itiveness, if you will?
Yeah, I've said this quite some time. We're in a day and age right now of instant gratification, right? Yep. And everybody wants to rank kids 5 stars, 4 stars, and they think because they're a 5-star, they're supposed to show up and be a starter and a freshman All-American and be all those things. Well, I've said since day one, we want to be the best developmental staff in the country. And that doesn't mean you just develop your 2 or 3 stars. We're trying to develop everybody that shows up on our campus. And I give JT a lot of credit, because when he showed up, he was a pass receiver, playing on the perimeter, rushing the passer some. And we said, man, you've got a future at tight end of being a C area blocker in the run game, in the pass game, pass protecting, running routes. And he committed to it. And the result of it is all fall camp, all season, winter conditioning. This guy's had one of the better springs of anybody on our roster, and that's a credit to him, to your point of sticking to it and trusting us that we're going to develop them that way.
And sometimes it's the guys that you're not expecting from the outside a ton from, who are amazing right off the jump. I think you know by now, doing our shows together, I got the man crush on Byron Murphy. Right. Give me something on Murphy and what you've seen from him this spring.
Well, Murphy was a guy, when he came in, I used to joke with him, he was like a bull in a china shop, man. He would just go in, and wherever he went, he wrecked it. Sometimes he wasn't going the right way, which is that can cause some issues. I think his commitment to the weight room, I think he is a natural leader, and that shows. I think the guys respect him. He's been a dominant force for us this spring, and I think we saw it at the end of last year, him really come on and play the way he's capable of playing. He's a factor inside because he has power, he's explosive, but yet he has the quickness and the short area quickness to make plays on the ball, which as a D lineman, it's one thing to get near the ball, it's another to make a play on the ball carrier, and he can do that.
Lastly, to wrap this up, what have you learned about this place in 1 year?
It's so awesome. I honestly, like, I know I said it early when I took the job, how humbled I am to be the head football coach at the University of Texas. But when you go through a year, especially our year, which was not easy, believe me, it was not easy, but the support that you get from all the people that are just diehard Longhorns and bleed burnt orange through and through, the reception I've gotten, my wife's gotten, it's been tremendous. And I want nothing more than to see them kind of enjoy the success that we all, think and hope we can have for them, for our fans and for the guys that have played here before us and coached here before us. These guys set the standard that we're trying to achieve, and then ultimately kind of set a new bar. But we've got to achieve the standard that they set, and that's the bar, and the fans and their support, what they bring, has been tremendous.
I got to say, the three of us were a little offended that you never called us to pick you up in the minivan from practice.
I got to say, I'm hoping we find a little better video shoot to do for those commercials. But I will say this, I did notice Fozzie was wearing the shoes at a real game.
Right.
Yeah, you had the shoes on at a real game.
I had them on
all season. And he got some extra pairs. They end up sending him extra pairs.
I got 3 extra.
He's got a sponsorship with us. Unbelievable. Coach Sark, we appreciate
you. guys are the best, man.
Thank you so
guys
much.
later.
Yes, you got it. Looking forward to it. We got more to come right here on Texas Game Day.